Christianity and freedom are under attack, and the established church is AWOL. They're too busy telling stories, being entertained, and lulling people to sleep with politically correct and perverted versions of the gospel. My friends, the stakes are too high. Something needs to be done. So we're calling on people everywhere to turn their man caves into Bible studies. If each street in America had at least one home where people could meet and study the Bible, we would see a restoration in America like has never been before. So for details and directions to our Man Cave Bible studies in Princeton, Minnesota, please call our automated line at 763-662-2682. So let's go into the man cave, sharpen our swords, and get ready for battle. Welcome to Christian Overcomers, and thank you for joining us for this prophecy update. Hey, I know many of you are disappointed that the Democrats took the House. And you're thinking, how in the world can such an immoral, anti-Christian, anti-God party get so many votes? How can they even get a third of the vote? How could they even get a tenth of the vote? But yet they still seem to get enough votes to win elections. And you know what? Some people might be thinking, oh, Pastor Ben, we stay out of politics. We don't talk about the Democrats and the Republicans. Hey, my friends, this isn't about Democrats and Republicans anymore. This is about one party that has gone so far to the left. It has become so radicalized that it is now the party of evil. There's no question about it. They support the murdering the most innocent in the womb. They support homosexual marriage, which is an abomination, according to God's word. They support socialism, which is a government that is against God's ways. And on the list goes. All right? It is no longer, this is a battle between good and evil. And the church, the established church, is nowhere to be found. Again, they're too busy saying, we just go after the hearts and minds of the people. Well, you know what? You're not going to be able to really go after one way to go after the hearts and the minds of people is to stand up for righteousness. To stand up for the truth. And you're not going to draw too many good, solid people if your church never stands up for the truth in the public arena. If you just hide in the four walls, you're going to be looked at as a bunch of hypocrites. A bunch of pansy, wansy, sugar-coated, soft, sweet, just tell everybody you love them type Christians. Hey, you know what? Biblical Christianity, I'll say it this way. True men of God are often looked upon by the world and sugar-coated Christianity as mean-spirited people. And it's because they don't understand. A true Christian or a true man of God has the heart of a shepherd. And, a shepherd will be so gentle towards his sheep. He will cuddle those little things, those soft little fuzzy things, love them. You guide them gently with his shepherd staff. But if he sees a wolf coming or some other dangerous animal coming in to try to harm one of those sheep, that shepherd turns into a fierce warrior. And he will give his life for the sheep. And that is not mean-spirited, my friends. That's called true love. And we've got a bunch of pansy little wimps, false shepherds, in our mainstream established churches these days. And they use the excuse that they don't want to fight in the political arena. They use the excuse that that's not for us. That's not for the church. That's above what we're for. Baloney. I'm so saddened by it. When the church, see, politics is culture. Politics makes laws that kind of define the culture. It governs the culture. And when the church neglects politics, the policies of those who govern, when the church doesn't care about how we're governed, then the church forfeits the society. The church forfeits the culture. I'll say it this way. When the church neglects politics, the church forfeits the culture. It does. They do. They just say, hey, Satan, you run the government, you run our culture, and then we're just going to try to go after the people that fall on the wayside and save them and say, are you saved? Are you saved? Are you saved? It's important to get people saved on an individual basis. But we must do so by standing for righteousness. It's all throughout the Bible. In the Revelation chapter 12, it says the remnant of the woman's seed. It says two things about them. They keep the commandments of God. That's the moral laws of God. In society, they stand up for it in the political arena and have the testimony of Jesus Christ. All right? Anyways, hey, some people are thinking, well, the Democrats have the House now, okay? And we're really bummed out, and they're thinking, man, I thought God was going to save us from that. I thought maybe he was using Donald Trump as a warrior, and now the Democrats are winning again. And you know what? Hey, this isn't all about one battle. We're not just going to win one battle, and then everything's going to be easy. In fact, until you die, as a Christian, until you die and go to heaven, it is going to be a constant struggle, a constant battle. We can never grow complacent. Does that mean we can't enjoy life and have times of fun and stuff like that? No, it doesn't mean we can't do that. But what I'm saying, overall, as a society, the enemy is always going to try to steal our freedom and pull us away from God and bring us to destruction. We can never be complacent. The battle will never be over, my friends, until Jesus returns and eliminates all the ungodly, okay? So, where do we go from here? What's going to happen? Well, I believe, and I'm not a prophet, I don't claim to be a prophet, I just trying to tell you what I go by my gut feeling based off of what I know from the Bible and by aligning it to what I see happening. I believe the 2016 election of Donald Trump was a divine victory in that we were this close to America being completely destroyed under the presidency of Hillary Clinton. We would have lost everything in the Supreme Court. It's evident now we would have lost the Supreme Court, and on the list goes. That didn't happen. I believe God stepped in. And we've had many great victories since then. And I think he's given us a man that really knows, I'm speaking of Donald Trump, that really knows how the enemy operates. A man who knows all of their tricks, all of their games, all of their schemes, and is using them against them. All right? And it's beautiful. So, we still got the Senate, which to my understanding means that Donald Trump can still appoint all the judges that he wants, Supreme Court, federal judges, and so forth. That's wonderful. But I believe the Democrats gaining the House may actually be God giving them enough rope to hang themselves. In other words, I think they will overplay their hand, much like Pharaoh did during the time of the Exodus. And I'm going to go there and read some scriptures from that time. And so don't look at this current loss of the House as the end of the world as we know it. Does it mean we should grow complacent, not be upset, and not try to change things? No, it doesn't mean that at all. But God's in control. And from what I've seen since 2016 is that the enemy keeps going after us, even going after Trump, which really represents us. And the enemy keeps losing every time. And I have to believe that it can only be accomplished because God's hand is upon this situation. I can only believe that to be the case if God has intervened. If God has heard the cries of his people and has decided to step in. All right. Exodus chapter 17. No, wait. I missed a chapter here. Let me see here. No, that chapter 14. Chapter 14, it says, And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel that they turn and encamp before Pi-Haroth, between Migdol and the sea, over against Baal-Zephon. Before it you shall encamp by the sea. For Pharaoh will say of the children of Israel, They are entangled in the land. The wilderness has shut them in. In other words, God told the Israelites, hey, go over by the Red Sea, encamp there. And God knows what Pharaoh's going to do. He said, Pharaoh's going to say, hey, I've got them. This is great. I'm going to get them trapped by the sea. But it was really a trap for Pharaoh. All right? It was really a trap for Pharaoh. Now think of this in terms of what's going on today. All right? I will harden Pharaoh's heart. And you look at the liberals, the leftists, the neocons, their heart is so hardened, they're so blinded by their hatred towards Donald Trump and towards America, that he shall follow after them, and I will be honored upon Pharaoh and upon all his host, that the Egyptians may know that I am the Lord. And they did so. And it was told the king of Pharaoh that the people fled, and the heart of Pharaoh and of his servants was turned against the people. And they said, Why have you done this, that we have let Israel go from serving us? Now think about this for a minute. Just as the Egyptians wanted to keep the Israelites, God's people, as slaves, and didn't want to let them go, the establishment, the New World Order, the globalists, they do not want to let our people go. They do not want to let Americans be free. They want them to be controlled by the deep state. They want them to be controlled by pop culture and the mainstream fake news media and all this stuff. And when they fear they're losing that control, they want to regain it. So look, there's such a great similarity here, okay? And it was told, you think of the Mueller investigation and all that. By the way, Jeff Sessions, Attorney General Jeff Sessions, is now gone. And it seems a lot of these problems seem to be because he, with the deep state and the Russia investigations and all that, a lot of the problems seem to be because he recused himself. And he decided not to do his job in defending law and order in this country. And he's allowing the Democrats to play the game on them, to say, hey, you guys have to follow all the rules to the T and be upright and moral and righteous, but we don't have to follow those same rules. And Jeff Sessions bought into that bull crap, all right? As far as I could tell. And he's gone, and it seems like we got a new guy that Trump has got in there. Rumor has it that he is going to go after the swamp and go after Hillary Clinton. And maybe we might start seeing some indictments. Maybe we might finally see some people start going to jail who deserve to go to jail. You know, God doesn't like the wicked or the unjust to go on unpunished forever. All right? Anyways, and it was told the king of Egypt, think of this as the deep state, that the people fled, and the heart of Pharaoh and his servants was turned against the people. And they said, why have you done this? Why have we done this, that we have let Israel go from serving us? And he made ready his chariot and took his people with him. And he took, now check this out, 600 chosen chariots. We got the mainstream news media, we got the deep state and the chosen deep state operators in the intelligence agencies deep within the CIA, FBI, and others that we don't even know about. And the chariots of Egypt and the captains over every one of them, they got their best people to go back and get these Israelites to be slaves. And the Lord hardened the heart of Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, and he pursued after the children of Israel, and the children of Israel went out with a high hand. Okay, went out with a powerful hand. That's because God was with them. God, after each plague, now think about this. After each plague, God would punish the Egyptians, Pharaoh and the Egyptians, and then he'd let up a little bit. They wouldn't like the punishment. They'd say, oh, okay, we'll let you go. Pharaoh would say, oh, we'll let you go. And then all of a sudden the plague was done. Then they wouldn't let him go. And then the Israelites would cry out and say, oh, why is God doing this to us? Moses, did you bring us out here to die? And all this stuff. And I think it's going to be mentioned that something like that's going to be mentioned here in a minute. The people would start doubting. Hey, God doesn't just miraculously deliver his people and make it be without faith. You got to have faith. You can't give up. You got to have courage and you got to have hope. We're going to talk about that. Any Christian that says there's no hope, this is all going to be doomed, and the ends are already here, there's nothing you can do to stop it, is a Christian that's not really following God's word. Nowhere, not even at the time of the end, are we to have that kind of a mentality. We are supposed to fight. We are supposed to overcome. We are never supposed to lay back and say, it's God's will, just let the enemy run. No, because when we make a stand, we rescue people. When we make a stand for righteousness, that is shedding our light. But when we say, forget this stuff. Why do you even vote? Why do you even do this stuff? It's all meaningless. I don't do anything. Caution, my friends. Somebody who's saying that kind of stuff is not following the biblical plan. All right? So here we go. And the Lord hardened the heart of Pharaoh, and verse 9. But the Egyptians pursued after them all the horses and chariots of Pharaoh and his horsemen and his army, and overtook them encamping by the sea beside Pi Harath before Baal Zephon. Okay, the Egyptians got them cornered. But when Pharaoh drew nigh, the children of Israel lifted up their eyes, and behold, the Egyptians march after them, and they were sore afraid. And the children of Israel cried out unto the Lord, and they said, Moses, because there were no graves in Egypt, hast thou taken us away to die in the wilderness? Wherefore hast thou dealt with us to carry us forth out of Egypt? You can say this, what's going on? We thought Donald Trump was going to, and I'm not saying Donald Trump's a Moses. God could be using him as a warrior, a type of a political deliverer, not the Messiah, not a Savior. Okay, this is God doing it. But even if God's using the man, just like, Moses wasn't God. He was a man. He was a tool. So let's just put God's tool in the place of Moses here. The people were crying against God's tool. Why did you bring us out here? We thought we were going to win our freedom. We thought things were going to be so great, and it just seems like things keep getting worse. And now we're trapped against the sea, and the deep state is going to get us. Wah, wah, wah. Okay? We're going to die out here. We can't do it. This is the cowardly, fearful type mentality that we've got to get away from. We got to be positive no matter what. Even when we lose a battle, cry out to God in prayer. But don't be fearful. And Moses said unto the people, oh no, here it is actually. I forgot this verse, verse 12. Is not this the word that we did tell thee in Egypt, saying, let us alone that we may serve the Egyptians? For it had been better for us to serve the Egyptians than that we should die in the wilderness. Moses, we could update this to today. oh man, when the Democrats were in control and the deep state operated and the fake news media gave us all the fake news, we still had food to eat. We know it, we were still kind of slaves and everything, but at least we could get up and watch NFL football and do all these things without any, recourse. All right? And Moses said unto the people, fear ye not, stand still and see the salvation of the Lord, which he shall show to you today. For the Egyptians whom you have seen today, you shall see them again no more forever. Who fought for them? The Lord shall fight for you, and you shall hold your peace. And the Lord said unto Moses, wherefore criest thou unto me? Speak thou unto the children of Israel that they go forward. Not backwards, my friends, forwards. I've been trying to beat that into everybody's heads. I should say beat that into heads, but I've been saying that since the beginning of our ministry back in about 2009, 2010, the beginning of Christian Overcomers ministry. I've been saying that over and over again. We always go forward. We've got to have the mentality of an overcomer, a conqueror, a warrior. So God says, even though they have the sea in front of them, God says, go forward. Don't worry about it. It doesn't look like it should happen that way. It doesn't look promising, but you got to do it. And you got to have faith. All right? But lift up thy rod and stretch out thine hand over the sea and divide it, and the children of Israel shall go forth through the midst of the sea on dry ground. Okay, I'm not going to keep reading through this. Many of you know what happened. Eventually, the Egyptians chased after the Israelites, and they were drowned. They were drowned in the Red Sea. God totally he set a trap for Pharaoh and the Egyptians. They kept thinking that they were powerful and mighty enough to keep God's people in bondage, to control them, to tyrannize them. And God used their pride against them to destroy them. Is God doing that today? Well, I don't know. But it sure seems like that to me. That would be my best guesstimate based off of what I know from the Bible and based off of what I'm seeing happening today. Again, this is not a prophecy. I'm not a prophet. I am a student of prophecy, a student of the Bible, praying for guidance and understanding and trying to apply God's word to the current situations in the world today. All right? So, I guess what I'm trying to say is don't worry. Be hopeful. Now, when I say don't worry and be hopeful, I'm not saying just lay on your keister. I'm not saying be complacent. I'm saying fight with all of your might. But don't be negative and discouraged and bitter. Hey, sometimes you got to fight with a smile on your face. All right? Nobody's going to... Hey, if you're a Christian and you're bitter all the time, all you got to do is you're just complaining. Hey, we want to stand against evil and expose it, and sometimes roughly. But if you're doing it all the time in a negative sense, like, I'm not even going to vote. This stinks. This is terrible. I don't know why. This. People are going to look at you. They're not going to want to be a Christian. They're not going to want to follow you in the sense of wanting to join you and be a Christian. Or if you're trying to start a ministry or something like that. People are not going to want to follow you if all you do is bicker and complain. Expose evil. But you know what? There's a time for war, and there's a time for love. And there's also a time when you've got your fellow Christian patriots. We can love each other while we hate and despise what the enemy's doing. Don't be a discourager. There are discouragers out there today. I see them on the internet. See them on Facebook. Sometimes I even have to block some of them sometimes because I'm not going to allow a discourager to continually try to make us feel like there's nothing we can do. There's no hope. I'm not going to allow that. because there is hope. Even in the midst of the darkest hours, there's going to be hope. You can never lose hope. That's the whole reason we are given the prophecies of New Jerusalem, heavenly Jerusalem, and the prophecy of the second advent of Jesus Christ to give us hope. But hope doesn't mean we give up and be lazy. Don't let so-called Christians, I'm calling them so-called Christians because they're not following the theme of the Bible, discourage you and tell you not to vote, not to stand up and fight, and just that they come in and they try to divide God's people with negativity and nonsense and what's the word? False accusations, slander of people, and so forth. Anyways, hey, God bless you. Again, be hopeful, be vigilant, stay in prayer every single day so that you can be a Christian overcomer. God bless.
Christian Overcomers is brought to you by the tithes and offerings of our listeners. If you would like to support our ministry, please go to ChristianOvercomers.com. God bless you, and thank you for your support.
Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. He is trampling out the vintage where the grapes of wrath are stored. He has loosed the fateful lightning of his terrible sword. His truth is marching